Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Unlock Spring Boot 3 for your app portfolio. I'd like to bring in some amazing speakers for today. We have a friend of the program, Deshawn, joining us again. And for the first time, we have Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us today. We're excited to get through today's content, but before so, we do want to cover some housekeeping items. We love to keep this as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions for us, please submit them using the Ask a Question tab below. We have Evan in the background who will help facilitate some of these questions and share them out at the end, and we'll get to them throughout today's presentation. In addition, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know how we did, how we're doing, or what you'd like to hear at future events by leaving us feedback, hitting the Rate This tab also below the presentation screen. Now, without further ado, let's hand this off to today's speakers.
Well, hello there. Hey, as AJ mentioned, my name's Michelle Seebeck. I am the newest product marketer for Spring and Azure Spring apps. And I'm so delighted to be here because one of the best part of my job is not only to tell you all the great things about Spring and Spring Boot, but also to meet you and understand your pain points and what we can do to better make your lives better and empower you to the next level. So, with that, what I'll be in the background, and then I'll go ahead and talk a little bit later in the talk about some of the Spring solutions to help you with that journey. But before that, I'm going to introduce you to my colleague and friend, Deshawn Carter.
Hi, I'm Deshawn. I'm going to do a little quick switchy of the screen. And yeah, I'm a Spring developer advocate. I love my job. I've been in this job for 640 days, and I've worked other places before that. I've done some stuff. So I'm happy to help you. My whole job is I want to get you to production. You can find me in all the places. But this is the big thing. Spring Office Hours is a show that we do. It's live. It's a thing I wish I had when I was a Spring developer. It's a chance, it's a live stream that I do with my friend Dan Vega, and we always have a topic to share, but it's an opportunity for you to bring your questions directly to the Spring team. Dan and I don't always have the answers, but we've got Slack to the people that do. So let's go back. I'll kick it back. Michelle, you want to tell us what we're going to do today?
Yeah, let's do this. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's new with Spring Boot 3. We're going to show you a live demo, so you don't have to just trust us and hear our words. You can actually see it. And how are you going to get help? Because we know that DIY, we love to do it. I love to do things myself, but I can always use a helping hand. And then we're going to open up for questions at the end. Feel free to pop them in, like AJ said, into the questions. We have people on staff that are experts and will be able to help you. So let's get to it. Deshawn.
So I spend a lot of time just kind of floating around the world, conferences and directly with customers, talking about Spring, right? We've had some really interesting things happening. Actually, I'm gonna show you another piece here. It's that time. If you haven't heard, we released Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3. And with that, tons of new opportunity, tons of new value. And with that also comes, we're kind of end of life for OSS support for Spring Boot 2.7, and I believe Spring Boot 5, but I'll show that calendar up soon. Lots of people are eager to kind of leverage and get the value out of their Spring apps, out of their existing Spring apps. They're eager to kind of move forward, and everybody wants to be covered, whether it's for regulations or just to reduce risk, right? Everybody's trying to get covered. So it's a really exciting time, not just because we've got new features and capabilities with Spring Boot and Spring Framework 6, but because there's tons of value, and you're going to see that a little bit later. There's actual value that you can pull out of your existing Spring apps. And sometimes it's not easy. There's a process. We've done this with enough customers where we've got some cheat codes to help you move forward, grab the latest versions of Spring Framework and Spring Boot, get them to the cloud or to wherever you're going, modernizing as you go. And all the cool new features that are available in Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3, that just makes it more exciting. And it's a great time to be a Spring developer. So let's get into it. Some of the things that we've learned. We've got a process, right? There's a lot of things that are going to go into this migration. We've got some really cool tools that are available, but the guidance is kind of the same. Make sure that you're upgrading to Java first. You're going to get a lot of value just by upgrading your Java version, your Java upgrade is going to work. It's going to be backwards compatible. We had that question yesterday. There's a new version that just came out yesterday. Java 21 is released. Java is being released every 6 months. There's a new Spring Boot release every 6 months. The world is moving forward, and we want to help you adopt and move forward with it. And what we've learned from other customers, we've kind of got a good way of moving forward and helping you move forward. And we've got some cheat codes to share along the way. But this is kind of what it looks like. We want you to get up to Java 17. Then we want you to get to Spring Boot 3. And if you're awesome, you're ready to go to Java 21. And Spring Boot 2 is right around the corner with a lot more capabilities and that full support for Java 21. So let's just jump into a quick demo. Let's do this and switch over here. So here's the calendar as it looks today. Spring Boot 2.7, the open source support is happening. That green bar, that open source support, that ends November 18th. You can have extended support is going, because of the massive change where we rebased from Java 8 to Java 17, we actually extended the commercial support for Spring Boot 2.7. So if you do get commercial support, you've now extended it into 2025. So nothing has changed. Everybody's still on that same calendar. We're doing the same thing that we've always done. But right now, because of the massive value and because of the rebase from Java 8 to Java 17, we've extended the commercial support for this current iteration. And there's a similar calendar for, sorry, my screen just went blank.
I still see your screen on our end, Deshaun. Maybe if you want to just refresh.
So let's do this. I was trying something. I'm going to stop sharing real quick. I'm going to move things around. And we'll pick up there. Oh, apologize. Technical difficulties.
Hence real life.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing it live. What could possibly go wrong? Right? So listen to that demo. So here's the demo. Here's what you've been waiting for. I start by making a Java 8 application. There's a lot of our community is still using Java 8. I'm going to build a Spring Boot 2.6 application that just has a web and an actuator endpoint. So I'm using the curl API here just so we can make it easy and fast. I do a get init for something that I'm going to show you later. So now let's just run it. This is our Java 8 running Spring Boot 2.6. I'm going to point out a couple of things. It starts here. There's a number 1.455 seconds. We can see it's Spring Boot 2.6.0. I hit the actuator health endpoint that I got with my actuator, and it's up and running. And now I take a look at that process ID here, and I want to see how much memory is it using. At peak, it was 308.3 megs, but when I took this sample, it was 307.4. Those numbers are different. Okay, great. Spring Boot 2.6. I want to move forward. I want you to move forward. Here's a cheat code. This is the first cheat code I'm going to share with you. Open Rewrite plugin. So I'm going to run this plugin next to my application, and I'm going to run this recipe, upgrade Spring Boot 3.1. So this is the cheat code. You're going to have a big bucket of your applications that are going to be able to move forward with just recipes like this using the Open Rewrite plugin. There's going to be a big chunk. I want you to get through that big chunk of recipes through your apps that are easy to upgrade. I want you to get that done so that you can get to the stuff that's not going to be so easy. This recipe upgrades from 2.6 to 2.7, from 2.7 to 3.0, from 3.0 to 3.1. Now with Spring Boot 3.1, I can upgrade to Java 17. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to upgrade. I want to use Java 21 since it came out yesterday. So I've got a Spring Boot 3.1 app that I'm going to run with Java 21. As we can see, my application has been upgraded. I'm using Spring Boot 3.1.3. My application starts up. Was that a little bit slower? That's okay because I'm doing processes in the background. I hit my actuator health endpoint. It's up, but look at these numbers. These numbers are definitely smaller. We saved almost 100 megs on our application just by upgrading to Spring Boot 3 and to Java 21. This is great, right? Fantastic. We should do more of that. Do this, get upgraded, and save some money on your infrastructure. Imagine how much money could you save if you do this. This is a Hello World app, and we had a massive 30-ish% savings. But wait, there's more. Now, because we're on Spring Boot 3, We can do the AOT processing. We can use GraalVM, and we can analyze our code. It's going to analyze every bit of our code, and it's going to find out which code that we're using, which code that we're not. The stuff that we're not using, it's going to throw it away. So it's going to optimize our code, and it's actually going to deliver a statically linked native binary. That native binary, it's going to take some time. It's a trade-off, right? This process that's happening right now, it takes a little bit of time. Don't do this in your inner loop development. On your local environment, don't do this process. Put this onto one of your pipelines, one of your secure supply chains that are ready for production. Some of you might have Darwin. Some of you might be using a Mac. You might be on an M1 machine. So it's Darwin combined with ARM64. Some of your team might be using Windows machines. The output from this process on a Windows machine is going to give you a .exe file. On your pipelines, you're going to want to build these native images for whichever environments you're going to land on. So if you want to build some for Windows, build them for Windows, but do it in the pipeline. Don't do it in your local environment. That process took about 56 seconds. I started up my application because now it's a native image. Started up really fast. It's still Spring Boot 3.1.3. And let's look at this number. It started up in 0.075 seconds. If you're running these workloads in the cloud, you're paying per millisecond. Every millisecond matters. But our application is still up and running. And now look at this magic number down here. Our same Spring Boot app, our Hello World app that was running almost 300 megs on Java 8 and Spring Boot 2.6. Now with Spring Boot 3 and Java 21, GraalVM native image only 42.8 megs. This is why people are excited about the move to Spring Boot 3. This is it. It unlocks a lot of really cool features, and it unlocks a lot of value for the workloads that you already have in production. And everything you're doing moving forward, you can leverage this and get this out of the box. But wait, there's more. If you're building these workloads, you're taking them to the cloud, you're doing things like Kubernetes or Taz, you can get even more value. I'm using here a Spring Shell application that I do to modify my application. I'm adding some extensions that allow me to create image versions based on tags. I change the project name and I add a multi-architecture builder. I'm on ARM64. So now I'm going to use Java 17 because the build pack doesn't have Java 21 yet. That'll be any day soon. I'm going to build an image in the background. So I'm going to build that container image. Because I have a native image, I don't need the JVM. So this is building a cloud native build pack. It's spitting out an OCI image with a JVM, and it's going to do that in the background. I'm also going to do one for a native image. The only difference I need to do is add that p-native, and we'll come back to this. So those are going to build in the background. Let's go back to our slides. Wonderful. So you can unlock this value, right? There are cheat codes. We also have a Spring Boot migrator. It's a tool that can help you with this process. It gives you a little bit more information to read. It goes a little bit deeper in depth into what's changed. I like to say that it's making the release notes from the Spring team available in a programmatic form. You get a user interface that you can go and you can actually see what's changing, not just what's going to get it to work in production, but some of the things that you might want to consider as you're doing this upgrade from previous versions of Spring to Spring Boot 3. So I talked about Spring Office Hours. We also have Spring Academy. Spring Academy is another great resource. It's got a free tier where you can go and get a base level understanding of Spring. There's also a pro tier there. So if you want to pay an annual subscription, you get all of the paid for courseware, and you get a voucher for the Spring certification at the end. Wonderful. Michelle, do you have something to add?
Oh, yeah. I just want to name drop here real quick.
Yeah.
You talked about Spring Boot 3, right? And how great it is. I'm just going to name drop I have a friend, Aussie. He's the senior software engineer over at Netflix. And he and his team shared with us at Vegas at Spring One VMware Explorer how by doing this, and he's only a third of the way migrated or upgraded, he's achieved already a 15% performance boost. And I'm going to quote him so I don't get it wrong. By reducing the batch job boot up times dramatically, there was a significant cost savings. in the hundreds of thousands, probably millions of dollars in commute savings. And that's from someone who's done it. So I am so excited about that. And like I said, you did a great job. And like under 2 minutes, I, on the other hand, may need a little help. And when you talked about the things that we offer, I just wanted to delve a little bit more into that because, DIY, Netflix did it themselves. They have over, 3,000 apps, 1,500 libraries, and they had 2 platform engineers working on this since June of last year. So it can be done totally. But if you need a little helping hand, we have the 3 components of Spring Solutions, where you're going to not only unlock your Spring Boot 3 upgrade, but you're going to get your fullest potential. And what I wanted to do is tell you about the support. It's 24/7 support with our experts. We have the Spring Academy, like Deshaun had mentioned. I have a couple links in here. The Spring Academy, we have over 60 lessons right now, and we build every day. I think it's almost close to 100 hours of time that's free just by having Spring or updating that on the website, or you can actually enroll for your pro, which is for the teams. And then we have our newest, and we also talked about this at Explore, where you have consulting. So you don't have to do the upgrade yourself. You don't have to modernize your existing portfolio by yourself. We have that Spring Consulting, which when we asked for feedback on it, people were very, very excited. And this is just another slide that just shows, and I won't bore you with this, but you want to upgrade? You want to help us architect and build your Spring applications? We can do it. You want to modernize? Spring Consulting is going to be there to help you.
Yeah, but you have options. I want you to get through the easy stuff. So there's the migrator guide that's available on spring.io. There's the cheat codes of like the open rewrite recipes that will help you get forward. There's Spring Boot Migrator. That is another option for you to help. And it's a cheat code. There's a lot of easy upgrades that are available to you in your portfolio. I want you to get through that easy stuff as fast as possible. So that's why we're here. I'm bringing you the cheat codes. You have Spring Office Hours where you can, if you get stuck and you have another question, maybe somebody else can help you. Maybe somebody else in that Office Hours community has been there before and they can help you work through wherever you're at. And then once we've got through all the easy stuff, if you need more help, we've got Spring Consulting, and they can come in and they can help you write those recipes. If you've got thousands of apps in your portfolio and you've got these similar patterns of upgrades, things like Spring Security, things like Hibernate, things like Elastic. If you've got these pieces that you're using different patterns, that might not be something that's off the shelf that anybody is doing. So there might not be a public recipe. Our team can come in and help you write those recipes, teach you how to write those recipes so that you can do that. And you have those muscles. You've got that practice within your organization so you can do it for the next major release, for the next Java version coming in 6 months, for the next Spring Boot version coming in 6 months. We want you to stay at the front of the pack. So we can pause.
Thank you, Deshaun. I know Michelle had mentioned about the Netflix session. Sorry to chime in, but we did include a link to the recording. So if you guys like to check out the recording and see the announcements tab there available. And all the attachments that we've shown over the last few slides are also available in the attachments section of the webinar.
I'd love to hear from the audience. I mean, that's my best part of it. If you have any questions or feedback or recommendations, I know that we went through this fast because it's not only exciting, but we could show you how to do these things, and we want to give you the tools and the resources. So I'm going to open it up to see if we have any questions. We may have one about the virtual machine.
Okay, so that's a great segue. The question is, hey, can I do both? Let me jump back to my demo. Remember, I was building those images. I built an image here. This one includes the JVM. I can build those images. I can deliver them with the JVM. This one, you can see it's about half or almost half as large because I don't need to ship the JVM. I'm only shipping the operating system and that native image. So if I'm doing this at scale, those numbers add up as well. But The question is like, can I do both? Can I run both in production? I think you should.
Yeah.
I think you should run both. Here's why. You're going to have to analyze. There's not a magic bullet. Each workload is going to be slightly different. If you've got things like Kubernetes, you can do a canary deploy. Take one of your applications, deploy it on the JVM like you're doing today, and then deploy maybe one instance as a native image, as that smaller, faster startup native image, or if you're doing auto scaling, right? This is another massive feature. It's another reason why we're here with Spring Boot 3, because we have these new workloads, these new, more advanced workloads that have different strategies for saving our company money, for dealing with scale, for dealing with load and peaks and spikes and things like that. We want to be able to stand up fast to meet those demands. And that's why we want to have those native images ready. So I'm going to encourage you today to start building those native images wherever you can. You're going to have some workloads that are going to build automatically. You're going to have other workloads where their libraries might not be ready for the AOT processing. Maybe your internal libraries need some work in order to get upgraded so that they can be ready for the native image processing, the AOT processing. But there's also third parties. There's also other libraries where they don't quite have it ready. There's a metadata repository, reachability repository that's hosted by the Oracle team, by the GraalVM team. The Spring team is constantly driving that reachability metadata so that your workloads can be converted into these GraalVM native images. But definitely head in that direction. Take it for a spin and do the evaluation. Do some experiments and see if something like this could save you a lot of money. See, like sometimes these native images are going to not just give you a smaller footprint. Sometimes for some workloads, they're even going to perform better than the JVM. Your mileage may vary. There's not a single answer for all of your workloads. So take it for an experiment. And if you're going down that path, I want to hear about it.
We have a couple more questions in here. Let me grab this one because I think I glossed over it, and it's about the timeline, like boot support timelines again. Okay. This is pretty exciting because we know that the free open source support for boot 2.7 ends
November 18th. Yep.
Now, if we get VSR, we'll have coverage until
2025.
It used to be February, now it's August. So it gives you a little bit more time because remember we talked about the behemoth Netflix and that streaming system, and they're a third of the way complete and they started last year. So you may need that time. So that timeline, it's a great opportunity for that commercial support, and to couple that with Academy to get your teams onboarded for the migration and the upgrade process, as well as consulting to go a little bit faster. If you only have one or two in your shop, might be a great way to do that.
Yeah. And like, I'm real and I'm out in the community. I know that not everybody is on the latest and greatest. I know that there are still Spring Boot 2.6, 2.5, and even some Spring Boot 1.x workloads that are running in production today. But I also know that nobody wants to be in that situation. Everybody's excited about this move forward. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard to know how much to bite off. But I also know, from working with our customers and working with the community, that pressure of being upgraded is coming fast and furious. Some regions, the regulations, the requirements are there that you can't be running this unsupported end-of-life software in production per regulations. So there's this massive move to get things forward.
That works well with this question. I believe it's from a Mr. P. Our developers would like to move to Spring Boot 3, but we need to get the rest of the business on board. Do you have any tips on how to push that conversation forward?
Absolutely. So you're in this situation. The demo I just showed, it's available on my GitHub at Deshaun. You can take and show an example of, first of all, the value prop. That savings. If you can take and save, go from 300 megs down to 50 megs. I've heard examples of a 20 gig container that's deployed hundreds of times around the globe being shrunk down to a 512 megabyte container. There was a trade-off. It didn't start up as fast, but the value, the money savings on those containers made it worth it. So you have some options here. Depending on your workloads, you can just go straight to the numbers, but also get the security team on your side. One of the things your security team cares about making sure that you're upgraded. If you've got end of life workloads that aren't getting patches anymore, yeah, your security team is definitely going to encourage you to get on the latest and greatest. Get your security team behind you. But on top of that, if you're doing these AOT images, if you recall back, we had the JMeter or the Log4j issue that had some dynamic endpoint that was going to say, hey, I can pass this in and I can expose things. If that was a native image, those dynamic features that are provided by the JVM, those are gone. It's a closed world. The way that you've configured your application at build time is the way that it's going to run. You don't have the JVM. So in one sense, it's going to be a little bit more secure. Your security footprint is a little bit different. So you've got some options, but those are the ones that are the most prevalent, whether you're trying to get backing from the business or make that business case. Talk about dollars and cents, talk about security. Those seem to be the ones that work.
Now, to follow up on that, we have a question from R. Nadella, who says, we're considering updating Spring Boot from 2.6 to 3.2. We utilize Paketo build packs to create images via GitHub Actions and prefer integrating ATOMIKOS JTA with a Gravel VM. Do we need to sequentially update through each major and minor version, or can we just skip some of the minors?
So I showed in the demo those the update recipe, tools like Spring Boot Migrator, tools like that Open Rewrite recipe that I shared. Those are going to take you through the steps because yes, there are things that you need to do in place and in order. Upgrade from 2.6 to 2.7, from 2.7 to 3.0, then from 3.0 to 3.1. And if you're using these cheat codes and these tools, that's going to get you there.
Ready for the next one?
Great question. Absolutely.
All right, because they're coming fast and furious. I love it. I love it. I love it. So this is from KK. I don't want to mispronounce names, but we have upgraded our applications to Spring Boot 3. Thank you for that. And Spring.io guide for upgrade was very helpful. Oh, we appreciate that too. They appreciated that. RR does. We would like to see ways for identifying the performance bottlenecks for the apps deployed to PCF, CPU spike, and root cause analysis on server crashes. Is there a way to enable infra logs or any metric endpoints to get these details for troubleshooting?
Yeah, you can expose all these metrics with your actuator endpoints. You don't, so the actuator, that production ready access to information from my app that I authored, it gave me so much power because I could decide the thresholds that I wanted and I could measure the thresholds that I wanted. I could see what was going on inside my app. The other thing that I haven't even talked about, the way that we've changed things with Spring Boot 3 and Spring Framework 6 is we started with observability. So all of the things you want to expose things, the observability was at the base instead of being added on at the end. So it's fundamental and it's a part of what we're doing with Spring Boot 3. And because you're running on PCF, on TAS, you have your app insights. You can use those dashboards. You can expose all of those same metrics right inside of your platform. And that's beautiful. If you need to go further, if you'd like some cheat codes, you'd like to know a little bit more information, that's exactly why we have Spring Office Hours. I don't want you to be stuck. If you've got a problem, bring it to Spring Office Hours, let us know. And also, because you're asking it here and you're here on the webinar, you can reach out to me directly. I would be happy to pair and walk through and share some of the tips and strategies that I've learned from other customers. I was also a happy TAS customer. I was a proud Cloud Foundry customer before I came to Pivotal, before I came to VMware.
Can we pack it, run it as a Docker container in a native mode?
Yes. So that was the example that I did. I ran it in the background and I came back to it. I created OCI images. I created one that had the JVM, the traditional approach. They were both using Paketo build packs, but with one, I did the -P native and I got a native image. So my OCI image was actually, I think it was 100 or 80 megs smaller because I didn't need to ship the JVM with it. So I get that fast startup time. I get that maybe better performance as well. So yes, you can deliver native images as OCI images using things like cloud native build packs.
Awesome. You know what? I neglected to say to Sean and AJ, congratulations to all, because it's the 20th anniversary of Spring. Been around for 20 years, and Spring Boot turned 10. That's amazing. And it's because of our millions of users across the globe, and you guys keeping that open communication with us to see what you need, how we can be better. So happy birthday and happy anniversary to all of you.
Yeah, wonderful. It's a lot of hard work, but it does. It takes the community. It takes things like this. Sometimes we've got to share a cheat code to get you excited about what's coming, and we want you to take it for a spin. We want to get your feedback, and we want to help. We want to understand, what do you think should be next, right? We've got a lot of benefits coming from Java 21, a lot of benefits. The release candidate 1 for Spring Boot 3.2 comes out October 19th, 1 month after the Java 21 release. And then Spring Boot 3.2 is targeted for, I believe, November 23rd. So right around the corner. Get upgraded, take care of the easy stuff so that you can move to Spring Boot 3.2 right around the corner.
I think this is awesome. I'm so excited about those questions, and keep them coming. If you want to reach out, you want to go to those open office hours, you want to email us directly, we'll be more than happy. AJ, why don't you take it from here?
Excellent. I do want to just do a special thank you to Michelle, to Deshaun for today's presentation. All of the great information, the great demos, all the great questions from all of you guys. I would be remiss if I didn't mention here, Deshaun, there's a special shout out for you in the comments from a certain Dan Vega. Perhaps he's a partner of yours for these spring office hours. But
the office hours.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, we miss you out over here, and thanks for chiming in and commenting on this webinar. So I do want to say again, special thank you to Michelle, to Deshaun, for Evan in the background, who's helping us set this up. And most of all, thanks to all of you guys for joining us. This event has been recorded and will be available on demand shortly after the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, continue to submit them through here. We can respond via email, or join us in the office hours and ask us live as well. So we're happy to do both. So thank you guys, and we hope to see you guys at our next event.
Talk soon.